What's up everyone? Thanks again for joining us. This is New Tone TV. My name's Matt, and today I'm going to be explaining how to fix a hole in your drywall. It's not that hard. Right now, off topic, Ontario is in a lockdown. It started on January 14th and it's going to go until about February 11th. So we got a couple of weeks to go there. So with that being said, I thought we would do a little series here where I could help you guys at home maybe get your house ready for sale in the spring, maybe just a freshen up, and I'm going to show you a few tricks that might help, and you could probably learn a couple of things, and hopefully it helps. That's all I wanted to say. So I'm going to get right into it, show you how it's done, what tools to use, what product we use. I know there's other contractors out there that would probably do it a different way. A lot of you would probably do it the same way as me, but I'm going to show you how I do it. It's very simple, and that's it. Let's get into it. And again, thanks for joining. Let's go. Alright guys, here we go. So we got our spackling mud. That's what it says, spackling. And this is your DAP, your normal drywall mud. So I'm gonna get going here. Make sure you always have like something underneath. Like right now I have a piece of cardboard, a drop sheet. You don't need too much mud for a hole that size. So I usually get a little bit on my spatulas, like I like to call them, and just move it around a little bit, mixed up real nice. So this kind of levels it out a bit, makes it not so thick, so it's easier to work with, and apply a bit easier. I usually just leave it on the big spatula. Use the skinny one, the smaller one, to apply it. So get a nice little clump on there and ooze it in there. Push it on there, like ooze like that. You see what I'm saying? Then you're gonna go back and forth in different ways. Up and down. Put some more on there, side to side, until you have enough on that area. You don't want to have a lot of heavy areas because it's going to be more work. Like say you do it that way and you leave that. Once that hardens, that is going to be so hard. You're going to have to almost chisel that part off. Like I said, just kind of, you don't want to manipulate it too much because it actually starts doing its job. So anyway, I'm going to leave it like that. I just kind of clump the rest of this stuff together because this is still good. So I'm going to put that right back in the bucket, and it's good for next time. There you go. You can see how everything's kind of smoothed out already. There are a few rough edges, but that stuff sands off pretty good, pretty easily. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I will show you how to sand it. What you can do is once you're done doing your mudding and you've got a bunch of this kind of stuff all over it, all the excess mud, what you can do is just take a high grit, like a 220, kind of what we were using on the wall to sand it. Just grab that. A used 220 would even be better because you don't want to scratch up your mudding tool too much. So you can see, just use that sandpaper and sand that stuff right off. Because if you don't do this and you try using the mudding tools with this caked on old mud, you're gonna find that you're gonna get lines through the new mud as you're applying it to the wall, and then you're just making more work for yourself. So with this, it's a nice clean blade, and you're good to go. Check it out. This is the one that we normally use. It is pink inside. Ooh, very cool. So when this goes on the wall, obviously you apply it on the wall, it is pink. But when it's dry, it dries to white. That way you know that it's dry. If it's still a little bit pink in some areas, then you can't sand it. So there you go. That's the DRYDEX, and that's by DAP. That's the one we usually use for bigger areas, and when you have more time, I use the dust control. Smaller holes and nail pops and stuff like that. This one's perfect. All right, so once you're done mudding your holes, what you want to do is make sure you put the lid back on this stuff, because this will dry out no matter what. Sometimes that mud will kind of overlap into this area, and you want to make sure you clean that off, and make sure the top edge is cleaned off as well. And once that is done, either take some sandpaper or even a tool and kind of just get that excess stuff off. And yeah, once you have that cleaned off, take the lid and put it on, and you're gonna hear it click. You wanna make sure you hear that click. Once that clicks, you're good, it's sealed, and no air is gonna get in that, and that'll last you quite some time. It's drying pretty good, but as you can see, right in the middle, it's still pink, so that's extremely wet. So we're gonna have to leave that for now. But as you can see, this is drying pretty good, and that's because it's such a thin layer on top of the actual drywall surface. And this being a hole, yeah, you're gonna have to wait probably 3 to 4 hours for that to dry. If you have a heat gun, you could always use a heat gun, maybe from a distance, get some heat on there. But sometimes that does create cracks in the drywall compound. So with that being said, it's better just to have the time to leave it and let it dry by itself. You're gonna have to remud this anyway. So anyways, once this is dry, I'm gonna go over it probably another time, and then once that's done, it's dry, we could probably sand it down, and then I'll show you that process of sanding it down. All right, we'll see you once this is dry. Okay guys, so the patch is pretty much, well, it's done. It's ready to go. As I said before, that drywall mud that we use is pink. It goes on pink, and then when it's dry, it's an indication when it's white. So this is completely dry now. I have a brand new 220 grit sandpaper and a used 220 grit sandpaper. I just want to concentrate on just these easier steps to kind of like a stepping stone to get into bigger patches and stuff like that. So again, I'm going to use the brand new 220 on here, and what you want to do first is get rid of all of the hard edges around the patch. Basically, we will do a circular motion and try and get rid of all of the edges. What you want to do is go over it with your hands, and if there's any hard edges, then again you want to go over it with the sandpaper. Then you slowly start getting into the middle. In a circular motion. You don't want to take off all of the mud. You just want it to be flush with the existing wall that it was applied to. You probably can't see it, but this hole is actually sunk in a bit, and that's what happens after the first coat of mud. It will suck in sometimes, so you have to do a second coat. For the purpose of the video, I'm not going to do a second coat. I'm just going to show you how to finish the sanding and get it ready for paint. So pretty much all these edges are smooth and flush with the wall. So the higher the number, the less rough it is. The lower the number, the harder it is. So I go over it with the used 220 and just smooth it out just a little bit more. That's all. And that's it. Your patch is ready for paint. And yeah, easy cleanup. As long as you got a drop sheet underneath the area you're working in, it's perfect. So that's it, guys. I appreciate you sticking around for till the end here. The next video I do is going to be how to paint on the patches that you've done. I'll show you how to paint over the patch and then paint a whole wall, and you won't even see that patch. So stay tuned till the next video. Thanks again for sticking around, and we'll see you on the next